Today's Monday. Thank you very kindly for tuning in to Pan-African Television. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. Undoubtedly, this show is the best show ever to hit the screens in Africa. And we're super excited that you are the reason why we're where we are. And you are the reason why we continually bring you the best that we can. This is the Newspaper Review segment. A big thank you to the 6 a.m. news team. A big thank you to the sports crew. A big thank you to Brazil de facto for bringing us what is happening in Brazil. And of course, now is the time for us to get deeper and deeper into all the issues that are of great concern to you and I. And particularly, I'm sure that you would want to have conversations or hear about our opinions relative to the president's address last night. What were you doing yesterday? Did you listen to the president? What did he say that you find very interesting, very amusing? Are you satisfied with where we are now with respect to COVID-19 and our fight as a nation to address same? Are you excited about the measures that government has put in place to addressing the spread of the virus? Are you happy that we've not lifted the ban on social gatherings? What would you do if you were in the position of the president? Would you have asked for another partial lockdown or in fact a complete lockdown? What would you do if you were in the position of the president? Your views are as important as the ones that we're expressing here on the show. So it is imperative that you share them with us here via our WhatsApp number, which is 0260846539. 0260846539. This morning, though, we're going to be definitely looking at COVID-19 and what has been arising in respect of same. Ban on public gatherings extended by 3 more weeks. COVID-19 cases hit 4,700. Daily Graphic front page reported that. But on the basis of this, I think it's also very instructive to bring to your attention that we've also recorded other cases in the Western region. I don't know whether it was captured in this particular number, but I do know that a nurse died as a result of COVID-19 yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yesterday, I guess. And a doctor admitted from the same hospital. So as we speak now, and from the checks that we have, the hospital has been closed down. So I don't know whether what we witnessed in the central region or what we are witnessing in the western region are factored into this particular number that has been put out. IMF bounces NDC, clears government over false data. That is captured on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. So it is we are going to get into all of these matters here. I don't know whether whatever it is that this person is saying is a representation of what the organization itself has said or intends to say. So we will interrogate these matters here. Economy suffers as over 80% of goods sold in leading supermarkets are imported. Economy suffers as over 80% of goods, I beg your pardon, sold in leading supermarkets are imported. And that has been captured prominently on the front page of the Insight newspaper. COVID-19 pandemic, Lagos lockdown could be reinstated if... So that's going to be an African story that we're going to be touching on this morning. I don't know which newspaper captured that, but we'll look at that as well. I've been joined in the studios by Soprano Sapon Sylvester, who is gunning for the General Secretary position for the CPP. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
And thank you. Why did you how was that? You chuckled. Why?
I'm excited.
You're excited.
I'm excited.
Just by the introduction.
Yes, and
I see.
To see you after quite a bit. You're looking really handsome, Kwame. You look well fed.
I've never been underfed. Anyway, good morning to you, Mujib Rahman, who's also a member of the MPP's communications team who has carved a niche for himself in the party. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, bro.
Thank you very much for your time today.
I hope your weekend was good.
It was tiring. Very tiring. I decided to just switch off and, put myself into a reboot status.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've been rebooted.
Yeah.
And
I hope you listened to the president's statement yesterday, address to the nation.
Did you?
On COVID.
Did you?
Yes, of course.
Did. Unfortunately, I
did. Very refreshing. I did. Why? You slept?
I was attending to other equally important activities.
Okay.
My attention.
We'll get there.
My attention
We'll get there. We'll get there.
Anyway, but let's quickly start with COVID-19 matters before we come to the economy matters. Albeit that it's also very incidental to our fight against COVID-19.
Well, one is impactful on the other.
Exactly. So, but it's important. So let's start with COVID-19 and matters arising. So yesterday, the president addressed the state again in his 9th address. And indeed, he made eloquently some very important pronouncements. And you described it as what? How did you describe the speech?
It's a message of hope. Refreshing.
Message of hope. So we're going to be interrogating that message of hope. So I think it's important to start with you on that basis. Why do you describe the address to the state as one that carries a certain message of hope?
I think what we saw yesterday, the president's speech was the 9th of his address to the nation since the outbreak of COVID-19 in Ghana. And if you look at yesterday, the president was very, very straightforward to the issue and very articulate on them, especially when it comes to the area of provision of PPEs, personal protective clothing. Kwame, when this COVID-19 broke in this country, the issue of PPE was at the center stage, especially the cry of our frontline health workers and the health workers in general. The first of all, and they were justified. Some of us said, yes, it is very important. You have to protect yourself before you can protect somebody. And the law of nature is self-preservation. So Kwame, with all their experience and their professional background and training, but the essential aspect of it at that time was to protect themselves. So the president took time to mention the figures so far, what has provided to the Ghana Health Service through to the hospital facilities in this country, be it face masks, gowns, all those things that has to do with the protecting of our medical staff has been provided. And individual, single by single, the numbers were given. And Kwame, I was very, very happy that the president has touched on that area. Another significant aspect the president mentioned, I think, which was exclusive in all his statements, was the admonition of the people of Ghana, even though significantly we have been doing it when it comes to the hygiene, observing of hygiene in this country. And the president further emphasized that we have to take it seriously, especially if you coming from the advice of the medical professional background, that when your eating habit is good and your diet is nice, maybe that can boost your immune system, and if you have a better immune system, it can help fight COVID-19 when you are infected. And the president also admonished the people of Ghana to take that aspect of their life very seriously, even though we have been doing it, but I think this was also another way of drawing the attention of the nation to that aspect. And Kwame, it is very significant. Importantly, the president also mentioned the role, that the significant steps that has been taken in the fight against COVID-19, especially in containing the spread, limiting the spread and containing the disease in general in Ghana. And the president was kind in telling us that, Kwame, the issue of numbers has been an issue. Especially other people, as soon as they see the raw figures, they tend to put blame on government. President said, no, it is because of our testing capacity that we are testing more in this country. That is, the more you test, the more you get those who are infected. Then when you get them, you isolate them, and then you treat them, and then they are back to society. And Kwame, that is the method every country is using. If you look at America, America is testing more. Because of that, they have a very raw, in terms of raw numbers, they have a very high number, people that are positive and have been isolated and they are treating. So, sincerely, my fears as yesterday was alleviated when the president emphasized, especially the raw figures numbers we are looking shouldn't be that much scary to the people of Ghana, even though the numbers are increasing, but the capacity of the health, the infrastructure to respond to the situation is under control, and people are also recovering. The president mentioned so far the number of people who have also recovered and have been discharged, and those unfortunately that has lost their life. Kwame, but I think that essentially together we have to keep admonishing the people of Ghana that we have to take the protocols that has been put in place by Ghana Health Service and the World Health Organization seriously. Kwame, that is the only way we can keep the spread low. Social distancing, Kwame, is very, very important, and the use of masks. Kwame, even where elsewhere that have completely or 50% that taking their restrictions, but face masks, wearing of face masks becomes compulsory, and everywhere you go you have to wear face masks. So Kwame, is also another way of reducing the spread. Kwame, social distancing is very, very important. As we are sitting here, those days we used to be 4 or 3 and we are close. Now Pan-Africa is observing social distancing in terms of how you bring your panel and the number, you reduce the number of your panel. So it is very significant. Kwame, washing of hands and the running water is very important. So I felt that this is what we have to be keep educating the people. Kwame, my problem is we have been warning our market women, our market sisters. Kwame, it is true when you observe our markets across the country, especially those that have not been shut down. Observing social distance or giving distances, reasonable distances, is a problem now. Kwame, the point is we have to keep talking to them, keep educating them. Well, it's not part of our culture. It's a new thing that we have asked to do. And we need to do it because we have no options because of the COVID-19. And Kwame, those days without COVID-19, when you go to market, you see how congested and crowded the marketplaces. We rub each shoulders and then try to go about do our duty. So now, all of a sudden, people are asked to give reasonable distance, 1.5 meters or 2 meters apart before you can transact meeting. People will not find it easy. But when we keep the education continue, I think eventually let the people understand the dangers and how deadly the virus can be. So people will begin to adjust their life. Everybody is adjusting. That is why in the president's statement he admitted that he doesn't take delight in announcing some of this. And the president was keen in when will we get the end of this, especially everybody's life has been affected. Ban on social gathering has been extended to the end of this month. So it means that, as I kept telling people, that will still be in isolation. So you can't go to church, you can't go to mosques. Kwame, the clubs have closed, the pubs have closed. Now, Kwame, it is impacting on every facet of our life and society. So I think that we have to also adhere to the important protocols. To collectively, we can all fight the situation. Kwame, in conclusion, what the president also said significant was about the measures, even though people see that things are not happening. But every day, every hour, the president and his team, they are working seriously, collaboration with the experts and the religious bodies and civil society groups to see the way forward. And the president said very soon measures, they will be announcing measures in respect of how to ease some of these things. So border closure, ban on public gathering, and many other issues. So this was also significant in the president's address yesterday. So Kwame, by and large, and the president also said the politicization should stop. That no, it doesn't inure to the benefit of any person or any aspirant or any political party. It's a country, we need to save our people, and COVID is blind. It doesn't know Kwame belong to party A or Spranos belong to party B. What is most important is to help strengthen our health infrastructure and help provide what is necessary to the health aspects of this country to be able to confront the challenge that we have been confronted with, that is COVID-19, to save the life of the people of Ghana.
Fantastic. Now, let me still stay with you and interrogate the statement a little further. Nothing can be farther from the truth that the president in his statement admitted that some relief items and, if you will, some essentials were being distributed to the hospitals and the health facilities and frontline. So I want us to interrogate that. And he admits that they have sent, the essentials.
So you want us to take the specifics, the number?
They said they included 4,240,719 gloves. 2,576,333 nose masks, 60,823 goggles, 60,132 liters of sanitizers, 50,770 head covers, 41,992 gowns, 41,000 medical scraps, 30,783 N95 nose masks, he said. He continues to say, further, we have extended this gesture to other frontline actors engaged in the fight with the presentation of 5,000 PPE to members of the media. And today, Monday 11th, 10,000 domestically produced nose masks and more money will be delivered to the National Commission for Civic Education. Finally, the president is listening to some of us to enhance its capacity.
The media too is not left out.
The important work. I was even much more concerned about NCC.
NCC, okay.
Yeah. He congratulated healthcare workers, blah, 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 goes on and on and on. Now, I'm a media person.
Yeah.
And we've not taken receipt of these 5,000 PPs that the president is talking about, unless there are some specific media houses who are benefiting from same. I'm not aware. And you've been here, you've seen it. Nobody has taken delivery of of these items. Now also 4,000 gloves. My difficulty really is not with the numbers. It may be true. My difficulty is with the president's inability to provide us with a lot more evidence, as to which hospitals have taken delivery of these items that he's referring to. I don't know if I'm making sense. So, for instance, you're saying that you've given out 4 million. Fine, no problem. Anybody can come out. In fact, Kwame Owusu Danso, as I'm sitting here, I can say that I've delivered 500,000 PPEs to my people in Otiri. So, unless it's made specific, and evidence is that which supports the fact. So we need to know, and that was my point of departure. That the president failed to put out the hospitals who have received these items, because just this Friday, Ambatala Bernard Mona was on the morning show, and he nearly wept. He nearly wept, arising out of an admission made by a very close relative of his that they had not received. In fact, they were being made to use the nose masks for a period of 2 weeks. Wash them, reuse them. So if the president is saying that he's giving out 4 million, then it presupposes that at least the big hospitals that we have, at least, would have received or taken delivery of some of these items that the president is referring to. So I don't know specifically what he's talking about. No,
but Kwame, you see, we have to situate your concern into in a proper context. The fight is still on. It isn't that we have concluded the fight, and some of this protective equipment are disposable. After using them once, you can use them twice. I hope you are getting them. But and I can also assure you, no hospital or clinic have come to complain that since the outbreak of COVID in this country, they have not received personal PPEs in their outfit. Kwame, but why do you have problem with the president? The president will have to come and do the broad statement. That is why when you go to the Ministry of Information, constantly they have been organizing press conferences and briefing. That is where you get the details of it. Kwame, last week I listened to the Minister of Health. He said because he was worried that health facilities were still complaining at this stage about PPEs. And the ministry has taken a decision. Even though they have a channel of distributing some of these materials to the beneficiary facilities. But the decision have been taken by the management of the ministry that they have more stock of PPEs at the center. So if you are in Pando District Hospital and you short PPEs, you can now bypass all the channels and then you called Accra Ministry of Health direct, and they will find a way of letting you have the PPEs. Aside that is not the issue. What we all know is that when Ministry of Health is distributing not only but ministry, they have their agencies in the country at the regional level. They can send it through the medical stores, and it has to go through a procedure, certification and procedure before the district can access this thing. And Kwame, that is procedure sometimes can be very cumbersome, but that has been the procedure that we have been experiencing for before COVID. So now steps, because of the complaint and the urgent need in responding, other measures has to be put in place to be able to meet the demands of the people, for them to be able to fight COVID. So when I hear this from the Minister of Health, I was very relieved. I said, actually, this will allay the fears of the personnel. Now, my village in Wa District Hospital, if they don't have, they can quickly call the center, and the center will find a way of letting them get protective equipment to be able to fight, protect themselves, and respond to the challenge. So I think, what is the issue?
Now, you in your response to my question, you alluded to the fact that sometimes the president comes, puts out things, and then the clarification is done after the
Kwame, the president has given numbers. If you want the details of these numbers, you can get it through Ministry of Health.
Yes,
I hope you are getting them, because they does the distribution.
See, my difficulty is that that this is not, and you see, most of the times when we've had ministers come to support or come to give further explanations relative to the government's, the president's address, it has always been about things that they are yet to do. So they come and they tell you that, okay, this is how we intend to do A, B, C, D. This is how the distribution will be done. Now, this one, the president says, in addition to the incentives given to frontline health workers, they have distributed 4 million PPEs to some hospitals, some health facilities. And I'm saying that in telling Ghanaians about this, it means that it has already been done. So the president could have simply said that, okay, we have distributed PPEs to these number of hospitals. Or in fact, he could have actually even done it regionally. I don't know if I'm making sense to you.
That is where I said the Minister of Health will come and do that.
But to see,
give you the regional breakdown.
But to see, the president has lost out on leaving some of these explanations to be done by the ministries. And I'll explain why. You recall that there were 2 gentlemen who were in the president's estimation, have been very innovative. One was a certain young lady who had created something for washing our hands and things like that. So also a gentleman who had created an electronic system or something of also washing of hands. The president in his address specifically mentioned those people and acknowledged their effort. Now, so the president, so that could have also equally been done, for instance, by business development manager. The Minister for Business Development Manager. What Business Development Ministry, right? That's what they call it. Business or Trade and Industry, for instance. Alan Chamatin could have come to put out those names. Now, when the president went on that tangent, he had resigned himself to putting out information that should be, readily available and verifiable by every Ghanaian, especially because it is coming from the president. So I am saying that instead of just coming to tell us that you've given 4 million PPEs as the president, and he has so elected himself, don't get it wrong, from the beginning of COVID-19 till today, the president has elected himself to always address the nation. Are you following? So, in an attempt to address the nation,
you can say he is supposed to address us. Why? Why?
In most countries, it is them. No.
Why?
He could have why? He has put together a COVID-19 team. Let's not even belabor this.
But is it strange?
Let's not belabor.
Look at what is happening in America. It's Trump who addresses the nation.
Let's not belabor this. We are not.
No, but don't also paint the picture as if it's wrong.
But my argument really is not about. It's not so much about whether the president
has so don't even rub
I'm saying that I'm saying that the argument is not so much about whether the president has elected himself or not.
So don't bring it.
I'm saying that insofar as he has elected himself, whether hold on, to put out information, then one would beg to ask why he doesn't put out full information, especially when he's addressing the nation, and the nation needs to know where we are now, because one can also equally say
So
that
what is your problem now? What do you need? What do you need to know?
The president should give us details of the hospitals who have taken deliveries of these PPEs that he's talking about. So that we'll be able to now follow through and say that, okay, he's giving A, B, C, D to these people. Because you see, it is also not ideal. It's not supposed to be the president's right.
Because I think you just want us to talk to this morning. But the reality on the matter is that you don't expect the president to like come into details as to with this number of 4,000 gloves that has been given to health workers, to help 4 million. So to give that one, you can get it easy. The Minister of Health will come with those details to the people of Ghana.
So the Minister of Health cannot come with the details of the number of cases we have. The president must do that. And the president tells you.
No, but the point is,
I
even want to ask you a question. Kwame, there's opportunity. You don't go. You don't go to familiarize yourself with the facts.
Let's proceed.
At the information ministry, when you go there, you have the opportunity to ask all these questions.
Because the Ministry of Information has decided to invite my station. They've decided to invite my station. I'm not going to impose myself for Ministry of Information. I am telling you,
I think it's open.
It's not open. You can't simply watch it.
I'll find out. Yeah,
Pan-African television has never been extended by the Ministry of Information. Because we Pan-African television check all the TV stations. During the lockdown, we did more work. We brought to the doorsteps of the average Ghanaian exactly what the situation is and was at the time on the ground. We were always in the marketplaces, we were working with the police, we were explaining to people how things were being done, etc., etc. No formal hand of invitation has been extended to Pan-African television. So if you can tell them.
I'll ask them.
Let me come to you, Soprano. Let's take your view on this, address by the president. And Mujib, I hope you understand why I'm asking questions.
But this your question there is not grounded, because they don't expect the president to come with details when the president has appointees who will do that.
Okay.
But it is the details that culminate to give you the total number. So if we just need those breakdown, I can get it for you by the close of the day. It's not difficult.
I won't believe by it. I'll leave it at that.
Yes.
So far, let's hear from you.
By the way, I think, good morning, Kwame. Thanks for the opportunity. And I think, Mujid, I've liked your presentation this morning. It's very passionate and, and he's so pleased with himself and the president. And actually, to a large extent, Kwame, I think the average Ghanaian is appreciative of the way President Akufo-Addo is handling, and his team, the way they are handling the crisis. As I've had occasion to say in the past, despite the fact that the New Patriotic Party seems to be largely confused, every now and then they get something right. They got the free SHS right, and now the president, he seems to be getting the COVID-19 task force thing, in shape. To tell the truth, we didn't expect anything less from the New Patriotic Party. So we are quite happy with the performance of the president. And Kwame, the president likes to come and talk on TV every time because he gets the opportunity to get some free press. You understand? Prime time, the whole nation is compelled to listen to him because he's the president of the republic, and he takes full advantage of it to seek to popularize himself, especially considering that his job, is on the line in December this year.
But this is untrue.
It is untrue. We'll go to the
president doesn't.
I think that he will never interject.
I know.
This is just the early submissions. Come on.
But the president doesn't need this to popularize himself.
Allow him.
Somebody who
that is his opinion. Is about to. Let's respect the platform. Let's respect the platform.
Someone said
highfalutin. No.
Recently of President Akufo-Addo dancing on stage. I didn't know he was such a great dancer, and they were playing. Enjoyment. The president was really, and I was. It makes him more likable. Yeah. I'm trying to say that.
But the president is here.
Hold on.
But please,
Mujid, what I'm saying is that when I saw that video, it really brought a smile to my lips because it made the president that much more human, much more Ghanaian, and it was funny and it was nice. And I'm saying the president seems to be doing a good job with the COVID item, Kwame, and apart from the fact that we shouldn't do politics with this situation,
everything is politics, my brother.
Precisely, but I think that when I look across the political spectrum, I see that there's a certain unity of purpose, and we are all saying the same thing. So we are appreciative Also, one item about all of this that I appreciate with regards to the way the government is handling the situation is that they were able to almost double the amount of money they could get from the IMF, so that the government was able to get $1 billion from the IMF as in relation to the COVID relief. I found that, and I think it was almost 0% interest.
Yeah.
And that is really awesome because President John Dramani Mahama, actually went to a lot of trouble to get 940 billion. They gave him all kinds of conditionalities. So in that regard, I think that the Ministry of Finance has been quite smart, in being able to lock down this useful, injection of resources. And Kwame, with regards to the PPE distributions, and the wash and reuse that some people were complaining about, I also wanted to, draw attention to it. Kwame, you see, honestly, Ghanaians, I believe that if we are to, break through and be able to break through this ceiling of poverty, because there's this invisible ceiling of poverty. If we are to be able to break through, then one of the things we need to be doing is to be cutting our coat according to our size. Unless it destroys the mask, I don't see why, or unless it destroys the PPE, I don't see why we cannot wash it and reuse it. Look, we are a poor country. The country's economy has over the years been run down over the past 30 to 40 years. If you look, you see that President Akufo-Addo and President Mahama's party have been running the country. You understand? And the country is what it is today. But the reality is that we should learn to cut our coat according to our size. If we have to wash it and use it again, what's wrong with that? So Ghanaians should please let us remember where we are coming from and stay focused. It even takes my mind to say female sanitary pads. It's a massive problem, especially in the rural areas. Meanwhile, you can have reusable sanitary pads. You just have to wash it, and people say, "Oh, it's nasty." What is nasty? We don't have money like that. We have to cut our coat according to our size. So Ghanaians, if we have to reuse look at the mask Mujid is wearing right now. It is reusable, right? Yeah. Yes. So that's the way we should go, so that we can cut our coat according to our size until we get to that position where we can really live the kind of life President Nkrumah has been envisaging for us. Kwame, another issue that has exposed us, this crisis has caused has exposed us on is the fact that we seem to be not so independent a country after all. It turns out that everything that we have in this country is not even from this country, for the most part. So this is a rude awakening, if we needed one. Right now, Ghanaians realize that, oh my goodness, everything we are using in this country is important. And so we are hoping that this is an opportunity. It looks like the president is also attuned to taking action so that we can become more self-sufficient under the circumstances. And I really hope that his policies, actually, lead instead of words. You see, we want to see policies, because we think the NPP is too pro-IMF and too pro-liberal. They are always they say private sector is the engine of growth when everybody is poor in the private sector. So we want them to take a look at some of, most Ghanaians are poor in the, Kwame, another aspect of all of this coronavirus crisis that excites me especially is the fact of the closed borders, not only in Ghana, but across the world. You see, because I think that if this thing continues for about 2 to 3 years, not that I wish for it to continue, but I'm talking about the phenomenon of closed borders for the most part. If it continues for 2 to 3 years, it will begin to change the political landscape of the country. Insofar as, Kwame, our youth finish school and have an escape valve in being able to migrate out of this country, it has given our politicians what I call like a free pass. You see, if our youth stay in this country, it builds up a certain political pressure that compels our leaders to deliver the goods. You understand? Over the past about 30 to 40 years, since the 1980s, when the economy of Ghana really tanked, what has been happening is that graduates from our universities and secondary schools simply leave the country. You understand? Now, of course, apart from the fact that we lose our top brains and, strong people, etc., it has been a valve that has not pushed the government, because the people who can actually, like when you talk about the independence struggle, what people forget is that one of the reasons why independence struggle was so effective was that most Ghanaians were involved in it. They were here. But right now, what is happening is that when somebody finishes school and the economy is not working for him, he manages to find his way out of Ghana. You understand? And the pressure goes down for the politicians, and they don't deliver. So I'm really excited about the fact that right now our youth will have to stay here. They will have to find work here. We will have to be more innovative, and our politicians will have to deliver, better. Kwame, also, we are also saying that one of the advantages that is happening, occurring, with regards to this crisis, that we can take advantage of, is the fact that it looks like it's made telecommuting now mainstream. I find this very, very exciting. Telecommuting and e-learning. You understand? So all of these are stuff that are emerging out of this crisis, and we really hope that the president will not just be coming on TV to come and tell us about the numbers of people who have died or who got infected. You understand? But we are looking for a visionary way out of the situation. You understand? This crisis could be taken advantage of if the president decides and it becomes visionary. You understand? So that we can use this opportunity to transform our country. There are various areas where we can begin to, take advantage of. Now that this crisis has happened, one thing that is clear is that going forward, the new normal that is about to emerge really involves distancing in all aspects of our interactions. You understand? So we are seeing that, Mujid, you were talking about our market women. Under the circumstances, our market women, they have to go to work, but they need to put on their mask. And this is mainly because the virus is spread aerosolically, when you speak to another. But if you have your mask on all the time, as Mujid has it on here, and I think it's a good example. You make me ashamed, Mujid. If you have your mask on like this all the time in the market, I think it will protect our women, because we really need our mothers to be going, to the market. Kwame, I was listening to the Auditor General recently, and he actually uttered these words that 600,000 people on the government payroll, and 50%, more than 50% of the national income is used to resource, to pay, not resource, to pay or by way of remuneration. Okay, 600,000 people, taking 50% of the country's income, and then 29 million people being left to, deal with the remaining 50%, including the roads that we build and schools, etc. You understand? So what I'm saying is that our market women, they don't have some of these 600,000 jobs. You understand? They are not beneficiaries of the largesse of the government. You understand? They have to go to the market. So we need to innovate strategies that can let our people continue to live their lives protected from the COVID virus while still contributing to the economy. You understand? Because we need the economy to be working. So we are looking for innovative ways out. There's a lot of talk about testing. Kwame, I'm really putting my hope, I'm banking my hopes in the Noguchi Center. I think they are doing a fantastic job. They have a great leader there, Professor Ampofo. I think that they can deliver, and my prayer is that they might be the ones who come out with a proven cure. That would be such a feather in the cap of the Republic, and the Noguchi, of course. So these are some of the issues. Now that we are not able to do more of the contacts we used to be doing, I think that this era, you see, this in 100 years, in 50 years, when we look back, is when we will realize that this was the turning point. It was a certain epoch, you understand? And it is visionary leaders that can really take advantage of this situation and possibly transform their countries. So I would hope that the Ministry of Education will find ways to, further facilitate e-learning. Kwame, facilitating e-learning involves the use of data on your phone, on your, like internet data. You understand? And then here we are with the Minister of Finance, beginning of this year, increasing the communication tax by a whopping 50%, from 6% to 9%. Some of us in the Convention People's Party, we are appealing to the Ministry of Finance to simply abolish the communication tax in these times. At least give it a certain sunset period. Okay, why not abolish it or suspend it for, say, 3 years? You understand? Why not do that so that we can have that much more access, so that it would, inject a certain dynamism into the economy and accelerate our quest, to, improve the economy and the lives of our people. I think that we should also take the opportunity to look, far upon the centuries of time, as they say. And this crisis means that we have to also, consider the fact that the stuff we are learning in our schools, the curricula probably ought to change, because the new economy that is on the horizon is not necessarily going to be geared towards things of the past, okay, and curricula of the past. I'm looking at a more mainstreaming of artificial intelligence in our curricula, the study of artificial intelligence. Information technology, studies should be enhanced, I believe. What about drone aviation? The New Patriotic Party is so much in love with drones. Why don't we start building these drones here? Can we not, even if we cannot imagine to build, can we not buy one and copy it and do it? So that at least we don't be importing these drones that you use to deliver these medicines. You understand? What about three-dimensional printing? You understand? Can we not get ahead of the curve in these areas so that we can be innovative and take advantage? So what I'm saying here is that we are at a certain threshold, understand? The world is at a certain crossroads, and we are hoping that our leadership would be visionary and use this current crisis as a slingshot to, break us out of this cycle of poverty that we've been, enduring over the past decades. You understand? Now we are in a digital economy.
Okay, I've granted you latitude because
yes,
I was of the view,
yes,
I'm still of the view,
yes, sir,
that you haven't really been on this platform since the COVID-19 started. But
sure,
we are specifically dealing with the address to the state by His Excellency the President of the land.
Sure.
Now, there's one thing that you pointed out, which I feel should have found expression in that address yesterday, which has to do with education, the e-learning and things like that. However, I believe that if you watched the address yesterday, then we can get into the specifics.
Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. But Kwame, if I may add to that, by and large, the president, I could have predicted what the president was coming to say. That's why I didn't watch it. Because that's why I said that.
Because you knew the numbers had gone up?
Yes.
You knew the measures in place. You knew that
he was going
possibly the ban was going to be extended.
Sure.
Yeah.
You see, and so that's why I also mentioned at the beginning that the president is taking advantage of a prime time opportunity when the vast majority of Ghanaians are compelled to watch him because he is giving a national address, to market himself. I talked about the fact that the reality, the truth, that the president's job is on the line in December. We're going for election. And that's what I mean. I'm not saying somebody is going to kick him out by force. We just want to use the ballot box. So the president's job is on the line in December. Any president, in fact, all presidents around the world who are up for re-election are maximizing this opportunity to, market themselves. It's only normal. Indeed, the leading opposition candidate, President John Mahama, is using the COVID opportunity to also, become relevant in the times. You understand? So, Mujid, when we talk about the fact that the president is, marketing himself under the circumstances, there's nothing wrong with it. As Kwame, you said, it's all politics all the time for the politician in chief, the president of the republic. And finally, Kwame, I also wanted to just touch on the fact that you were complaining that they did not invite you to these hearings. I'm surprised, you are even complaining, Kwame. Personally, I strongly appeal to you and suggest you to crash that party. They can never stop Pan-African TV from participating in issues that enable Ghanaian people to be better informed. You understand? So next time, just go there, and if anybody tries to stop you, just tell me. I'll take them to court or something like that. I don't see how they can stop Pan-African TV from participating in these important sessions. Thank you very much.
Well, I never said they've stopped us. I said they were not invited.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, these are two separate things.
Items. Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm being dragged to court or somewhere.
So are you saying that because you're not invited, you'll not crash the party?
No, but the point is that how do you go for a party that you're not invited?
That's why you got to crash it.
You don't crash such parties, especially when they know that we're doing something very positive for the nation.
Sure.
I think that respect is earned. You get it?
Sure.
You don't force respect out of the throat of somebody.
Sure.
But that's just beside the point. Now, what is also very, very disturbing with regards to our attempt to nip COVID-19 in the bud is the increasing number of the spread across the country. And now the numbers have skyrocketed to 4,700, Mujib. That's very dangerous, correct?
No, Kwame, but I think you are also maybe... want to be part of those who are. It is true that we can't say anything without referring to the numbers. But when you also listen to the experts, they will tell you why, when you have more numbers, the advantages in it. Because the point is, Kwame, we have the virus is here. That one, it is true that is here. And we know it is spreading through the mode of spread is through human interaction. And Kwame, and the only way you can get those infected is to test. When you test and they are positive, what do? Then you isolate and treat. Kwame, that is the only thing. So, and if you look at the president's statement, the president said, why won't we have more numbers? Because we are testing, and our testing capacity is high. So we even want to test more. I think 160-something thousand, when you look at the numbers so far, 68,000. I hope you are getting the argument. And then the confirmed cases is 4,700. So I think, Kwame, that is good.
That is good.
Yeah. We need to test. So Kwame, even as at now, we are still testing. We still test more. You will still get some who are positive. And Kwame, I want to refer your mind to something. When this thing whole started, there were other group of people in this country who thought that figures will be massaged, and they were throwing all those lies out there as if government were being not deliberately putting out the right figures out there. Today, nobody is talking of massaging of figures because that is the reality. And Kwame, we have also expanded, other testing facilities has been brought on board. Tamale, Volta region and other places have also come on board. And now the testing capacity has been expanded. Even Noguchi and KCCR has been improved. So now the capacity. So let's get more people tested. And I listened to President Trump. President Trump said, yes, our numbers are high because we are the best in the world. We are testing more. And when you test more, you are able to isolate those who are positive. When you isolate them, then you treat them. And that is what is happening in Ghana. And that is what is happening in other parts of the world. Kwame, aside testing, how do you isolate? How do you get those who are positive? I hope you are getting the argument.
I'm starting to hear you.
Especially when you don't have isolated. Kwame, whatever it is, human movement and interaction has to be made before certain things can happen. Kwame, we were under lockdown for 3 weeks. It's been lifted. Kwame, look at our marketplace like he's mentioned. People still go to market. Even though we have been advised and admonished to distance ourselves. But there are other modes that we still interact that still spread this virus. It is true. And the only way to get those who are positive is to test.
Would it be farther from the truth for somebody to say that the leadership of this nation are the reason, the sole reason why the numbers are increasing, owing to a number of factors? One, that when the numbers were minimal, we imposed a lockdown.
Yeah.
And during the lockdown period, we never saw an increase in the number of cases recorded at a time.
Yeah.
And then we sought to lift the ban. I think when the case was around 1,000, we sought to lift the ban. Now, I think it's been 3 weeks after the lifting of the ban, correct? And the numbers have shot up to 4,700.
Yeah.
And we are excited to see these numbers because we are saying that we are testing more. Are we not the same people who through our own inactions, or if you will actions, have acted in a way that has seen the numbers go up? Because when you and you see, and I think in all your analysis, both of you made mention of the marketplaces.
Yeah.
And because of the nature of the virus, that sometimes people are asymptomatic. So there may be several people who are visiting the marketplaces who may have the virus, are not showing symptoms, and are spreading it. And this could have only happened if the people, this wouldn't have happened if the people were still under lockdown. And this has only happened because we have opened the system. We are not any longer under lockdown. So people are free to move to the marketplaces. People are free to move to public places. And that's how come the numbers keep increasing.
Kwame, it is true, but I don't want us to be part of those group of people who think that it is because the lockdown was lifted. That is why we are now experiencing high numbers. Kwame, if you want to interrogate the numbers, you will see where some of the numbers are coming from, especially the recent one. When you look at the present speed, one person infecting about 533 people.
How did that happen?
That is in a factory in Tema, fish processing factory. When you read,
but during the lockdown, those places.
No, but Kwame, no, I want like I was talking about specifics. Kwame, but even under the lockdown, let's be very frank with ourselves. We're not seeing a drop in numbers.
Fantastic.
We are not getting drop in numbers.
And
even but the experts are also saying that lockdown is one, but that is not the complete way of getting us out of it. But there were not. It was not only. It was not only lockdown. It was not only lockdown. There were many measures that were put in place by government. Borders were closed. Kwame, borders were closed.
Yeah.
There's ban on public
gathering. Where you're
going. There's ban on public gathering, and there's a lockdown. And the lockdown was not even the whole country. The lockdown was for specific area: Accra, Tema, Kasua, Kumasi. That is where the lockdown was. Even in spite of that, we're not getting reduced numbers. So I don't want us to believe that it is
on the basis of this analysis. On the basis of this analysis.
let me flow.
On the basis of this analysis. Yeah. I'll allow you. I'll grant you latitude. But on the basis of this assumption, right?
Yeah.
That even under the lockdown, the numbers were not plummeting. Yeah. Would you now therefore say, because government has been very quick to accept praises and to, if you will, eulogize themselves,
we have to
say that they have they have instituted the best measures.
It is true.
You are sitting here.
Listen, it is true.
You are sitting here. Hold on.
Yeah.
You are sitting here, admitting that even under the lockdown, the numbers were not going down.
Yes.
What type of lockdown did we institute?
Let me tell you.
We instituted a partial lockdown when people were calling for a complete lockdown. Juxtapose your decision of going for partial lockdown with that which happened in India. And after the lockdown was lifted in India, the repercussions that the people are having to grapple with. So let's look at, we are dealing with your own assumptions.
Yes, I know that in
why should we praise you?
I'm coming all the analysis. We are doing extremely well. I always ask myself, and I'll do my own analysis. The government has instituted measures since the outbreak, and that has saved us up to this extent. People are still not happy. They are still bastardizing government. Fine. I ask myself, what about if these measures that we have mentioned hadn't been instituted? What would have been the fate of Ghana today, Kwame? For instance, no border closure, no ban on public gathering, no partial lockdown, and then we still allowed ourselves for 2-3 weeks before all these measures. What would have been
all of these things that you're talking about were propositions made by people already. People were even saying that you did that, after the fact. But the point I'm actually making to you, submitting to you, is that you instituted a partial lockdown. You came on to say that we should praise government for instituting a partial lockdown, where in your own submission, you are admitting that even when we had a partial lockdown, the numbers were not going down.
But it was effect. It was effect. But it has also impacted, because the reason is that you lock down to be able to do contact tracing and enhance contact tracing, to be able to isolate and have a picture of where the real issues are. Kwame, Greater Accra is the highest when you look at the breakdown of the numbers. And so that was the first time. So government needed to be under the control of events. So you needed to take certain drastic measures. I hope you are getting the argument. But Kwame, today, look at the picture. Government, though the numbers are increasing, but the experts are telling us that, fine, it is good. Let's test more. Let's get the people. Let's treat them. Kwame, let's refer that one, even though I see the recovery rate to be very slow. But Kwame, largely, people try to compare Ghana to other countries. But in terms of all these numbers and recovery, what have you, we are not doing that bad. Kwame, let's don't be
alarmed. Your success
but that is what we are. But what is your expectation? But when you test and isolate and treat, your hope is to get the person back to society.
How do people recover? There's no vaccine.
Oh my God! But
people recover based on their own immune system. How strong your immune system is.
If you are the type who don't have a very strong immune system, and you've been discovered, so what will the experts do?
That's why most of the people are
What
dying.
some of the things you don't have is what they will give to you to boost your immune system.
When people die, they say
And that will be the responsibility of the state.
Hold on, senior. Let's not. You see,
No, but Kwame, don't
the facts.
Don't join those bandwagon that sees nothing.
I'm only asking questions. No, you're not getting the point. It's not like I'm not seeing what government is doing. I'm saying that we've all seen. We are all alive.
Yes.
To what government is doing.
Okay.
So we cannot gloss over.
So what is the issue?
The efforts. The point I'm trying to emphasize is that in your own statement here on Pan-African television, you said that the partial lockdown that was instituted never really achieved.
No, Kwame, don't take.
Because you said that the numbers were increasing. But you said the numbers were increasing.
But tell me which other country in the world that instituted even total lockdown and within that 2-week period, so numbers increasing, decreasing. India.
Yeah.
Explain to me. I have not seen. And all what even now India is still having challenges.
Because they've lifted the lockdown. After the lockdown,
that will explain to you that the lockdown in all over the world, they put it for a particular reason. But after some time, lockdown is taken and other measures are still in place because the country always want to have a broader picture of it and see whether the measures put in place are really working. But how long can you keep the country under lockdown?
Anyway,
Kwame, tell me which country, that is the countries that are hardest hit by COVID-19, that were even in complete lockdown. Today, Kwame, they are still experiencing it, but they are easing the lockdown. But people in Ghana here want to blame government because lockdown have been lifted. That is why we are where we are. And now the experts are telling us that you said that people should test. We don't have more testing kits. We have only 2 facilities. Now government is expanding the facilities, doing more testing, getting more numbers, isolating the people, treating them, and God being so great, people are recovering. And that one is a problem.
Treating who?
Treating those infected.
How do you treat them?
I'll give you the doctor's number. So from this program, you call them and they'll come and explain to them. They don't treat them. They leave them to their fate. Is that what you want to tell us?
You isolate people. You isolate. You give them.
So what is the last E for?
You give them immune boosters.
But
people are giving immune boosters. People are giving things to boost their immune system, and they can only hope that they will survive. So it is not as though we have vaccine or medicine.
Nobody has
so you
vaccine.
Cannot count
but nobody has vaccine. Nobody has vaccine.
Yes.
No country has vaccine. If like Kwame has vaccine and we are not reaching out to Kwame as a country to get the vaccine and treat the people, then you can take Ghana government responsible. But no country is try and error so far. And now I'm told we are ready to go for the Madagascar way. Of which we and I agree that we have to go that way.
The more reason why you don't have to count your successes at this particular moment, based on the number of recoveries.
So we should. And so those treated, those recovered. When you even on the table, every country that the table number of confirmed cases, deaths, recovered. So the recovery doesn't matter. So you think it's for by chance that people are recovering?
You should not praise yourself based on the number of recoveries. But praise yourself that you are able to test more. Praise yourself that you are able to isolate people. Praise yourself.
And those who have a very low immune system, you are able to support.
So it is based on your personal, which is why the people who have died, they say that they died as a result of some underlying medical challenges.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
For which reason? Yeah. I mean, once they are hard hit by the COVID-19, they die. But I mean, that's just beside the point. I just want us to acknowledge the fact that in our attempt to fight coronavirus, yes, we have achieved some feat. Largely, to see the numbers plummet, we have failed. Because the numbers keep skyrocketing. And that's the point I want to acknowledge.
But nobody dispute that because we are seeing the numbers.
Now that we are in agreement.
Nobody dispute that.
Now that we are in agreement, we have failed. So nobody until after COVID-19, then you can.
When we improve on the testing system, you are telling me that we have failed. So you want us to be hiding the numbers?
Let's go and test it.
You want us to be hiding the numbers?
Let's go and test it. You want us to go? Okay. So I'm asking you a few questions here on testing. So Prana, just grant me a few minutes. So we said that we had after the lockdown. I mean, when we actually locked down, we identified some places as the flashpoints. Correct?
Yeah.
Yawaso, Ashaiman, Tema, Osu, where Wager, and things like that.
Well,
We identified in Accra. We identified those places as the epicenter. I mean, as the
hot spots. Yeah.
Fantastic. Did we carry out the test that we said we were going to carry out in those places?
I don't know. I'll find out. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay,
yeah.
I like that. I like the fact that you said.
Yeah, no, I don't know. So
because I was actually going to go.
No, I'll find.
I was actually going to go.
I don't know. What I know is that I know.
All right.
The testing is ongoing, but I don't know the mode. I don't what these places that were identified. I don't know.
You have admitted.
I don't know whether the experts have gone there to do.
I'll leave it here.
I don't have idea.
Because you said you don't know. I'll leave it here. I'll leave it here.
But I'll find out.
Yes, but you said you don't know. So
I don't. For now, I don't know.
So let's leave it here. Why are you talking?
But I'm emphasizing.
Because the population of Accra alone is about 4.5 million.
I don't know whether they have. Yes, I don't know.
And those places combined is about 1 million. So I just wanted to take you on a statistical journey.
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Thank you that you've admitted you don't know. So perhaps in that admission,
but I'll find out.
You have not performed fairly well.
It depends on how you look at it, but I know in Bodily and in general, we have done very well.
I'm looking at it from the lens
of testing.
I'm looking at it from the lens of Mujib Rahman. Let's come to you, Soprano.
Yes,
are you satisfied so far with government's performance relative to seeing the numbers come down and also measures put in place to ensure that we don't experience further spread of the virus across the country?
Thank you, Kwame.
Yep.
By the way, I don't know if the numbers are coming down. You know, it looks like the numbers are going up. And, you know, as Mujida has been saying, the more they test, the more they find infected people, which tells me, you know, that there are lots of people that are infected out there. And, you know, so that ultimately the best way to protect yourself is to advise yourself. You see, so that you and your family and your loved ones, you take the necessary precautions, because based on what Mujib is saying and what is actually the case,
hard guy.
What is actually the case on the ground, you know, if the government was to say quadruple its testing immediately, the average number of infected would quadruple as well. It appears, you know, so the virus is out there. The virus is out there, and everyone needs to take individual responsibility for the way they protect themselves and their families. Kwame, you know, so Mujid is saying that he asked a hypothetical. What if government hadn't acted? I was baffled, Mujid.
No, I'm not.
But let me.
Trying to
that's what I'm saying. Rhetorically, yeah. You see, but the government had.
Because there was a quick response, and people still blame.
No, but Mujid, what I'm saying is that you cannot tell Ghanaians that.
Nobody is telling Ghanaians.
No, but you did say that, you know.
But it's the responsibility of government. Nobody is telling Ghanaians.
Let me. I see what Mujib is saying.
Nobody is. I'm just trying to.
Mujib was trying to.
In failure.
Like a hypothetical. No, hold up.
So it's a hypothetical situation.
That's what I'm also doing.
So
I'm reacting hypothetically.
Okay.
I'm reacting to his hypothesis. You understand? That you say that, okay, what if government hadn't acted? What Mujib, how can you say that to Ghanaians? That we elect you, pay you all kinds of money, sit you in a superb world-class mansion, Flagstaff house. No, hold up. No. And then you come and say that, what if government hadn't acted? As if you have that option to tell Ghanaians that what if you had, what kind of question is that? When you do that to us, who voted for you to be enjoying this highfalutin lifestyle, then we are very worried. That you said, what if government had... That's like a daddy telling the child that, what if I don't give you food to eat? What sort of... Is that how you treat Ghanaians? Is that what you think about Ghanaians? So MPP should come again. You understand? It's not about congratulating yourself. It's about doing the job. We have given you all the tools. And then you come and ask Ghanaians, hypothetical, what if the government didn't do anything? I mean, Mujid, please, you know, but Kwame, back on the subject, what I wanted to point out to Ghanaians, you know, and to listeners is that there is a balance at play here. We cannot completely shut down. We must be able to, you know, do more than one thing at once under the circumstances. This battle against COVID-19 is actually a marathon. You understand? There is no magic bullet or silver bullet, as they say, you know, so that we need, I cannot emphasize it enough to my fellow Ghanaians that the best protection is what you do to protect yourself. You have to understand that the virus is airborne. You need one of Mujid's masks. You see, you need to have some on you all the time for your children, your family. You need to be washing your hands. The president has been on point on that matter, repeatedly. That's why I didn't listen to him, because, I knew for the 9th time he was coming to come onto my TV, occupy the TV, and just tell me to go and wash my hand again. And I had already washed my hands. You see, so, we need to understand that this is not a temporary effort. And until we have what people are calling herd immunity, or a vaccine is kind of developed, then we need to be really careful. And when I say a balancing act, for instance, if I'm not mistaken, the cerebrospinal meningitis is wreaking havoc. I don't know if you have some figures on it, but it's causing a lot of
40. Yeah,
over 40
in upper western part.
And how much for the COVID?
22.
COVID 22.
You see, so I'm very confused here. Especially when I found out, Kwame, that the cerebrospinal meningitis is killing all kinds of important Ghanaians in the Boli Bamboy district, where President Mahama is from. That was his parliamentary seat. So we also wanted to, suggest to the NDC to hit on the, because the NDC has a team, a COVID-19 team. But when I look at the disparate impact inflicted upon the residents of Boli Bamboy constituency, I also want to suggest that the NDC, since they have media spotlight to highlight the CSM, pandemic that is actually occurring in the Boli Bamboy area, which is like a hotspot for CSM. Very important Ghanaians have their life put at risk here. And when I say very important Ghanaians, please, Kwame, I'm actually making a statement of fact. When you consider the fact that Boli Bamboy has produced our remarkable President John Dramani Mahama, we want the people in Boli Bamboy to be safe, because we don't know when we are going to get another President Mahama from Boli Bamboy. And that's why I'm stressing on the fact that the CSM pandemic that is occurring in the Boli Bamboy area and across northern Ghana especially, which has killed more people than COVID-19, has to be challenged, kind of looked at closely. It's a balancing act. How many accidents has occurred on our roads, over the past few months? And so are we going to shut down the economy because maybe 200 people died on the roads, etc.? So it's a balancing act, and the government is compelled to let the economy begin to flow.
On the basis of the CSM issue, I think we should be fair to government.
Yes, sir.
I think I heard a statement emanating from the quarters of the presidency.
Sure.
That a team was put together,
okay,
to visit up north, because apparently this is also a novel CSM.
Okay.
So it's mutated. It's a new type of cerebrospinal meningitis, and it's not known. Okay. So the vaccine that they are using in treating
it's not effective.
It's not effective because this is So it's a new.
But
I think that on that score, in as much as people are still dying, which is very, very melancholic, we must also give some credence to the swift action, albeit not that swift, but government has tried to do something in addressing same. But I also get your argument about the NDC also putting together maybe a CSM team
or the
also
same
address,
team even, because I think it's a communicable disease like the COVID-19. And please, I'm not doing politics here, but the reality is that President Mahama is the most newsworthy individual in Ghana, second only to maybe the president. And that's because the president is the president. You understand? So President Mahama has a lot of media spotlight. And if he was to turn a bit of his attention to what is happening in his own constituency, which is a very devastating thing, then we might be able to save more future President Mahamas.
Let's look at the figures, the numbers. What is what government doing working for us? The measures put in place by government to dealing with the spread of the virus, is it working?
That's COVID or
we're talking about COVID-19.
Okay, sure. I think that it is working. I think that, and that's why I was so mortified when my good man here, Mujid, talked about that. What if government hadn't done anything? That is a very sensitive statement, Mujid. The fact is that if the government hadn't taken action, Kwame, I think we would have a rampaging crisis on our hands. You understand? I think the action by the government, especially the incessant, harping upon the need to be, wearing masks, washing hands, that is coming from actually the Ministry of Information. It's actually a good thing. The Minister of Information, fact be told, although there's some propaganda, but he is actually also hitting home. Okay, so the government's action has had an impact. Kwame, take note that, there's a certain opportunity cost to all of this. You see, for instance, what I'm saying is that if the government hadn't raised awareness, this, regime of hand washing and hygiene improvements that has become commonplace and the norm in Ghana wouldn't be the case. And I think, when you consider the fact that all kinds of diseases, not even just COVID, is spread by, communicable interactions, such as happens when, with the COVID, then you see that the hand washing regime is so important, especially, and if we don't take anything at all from this crisis, I hope that Ghanaians become habitual hand washers. Because that is a good thing for us. So I think the government has had an impact, with its intervention by way of, constantly harping upon the education aspect of it. I would like to see the...
Let's look at practicalities. Education, fantastic. Nobody is asking questions about it. Let's look at practicalities. Beyond the education,
yes, sir,
lies the devil of practicality.
Of course.
How people are going to imbibe that which has been put out.
Sure.
And ensure that they execute same. And has it been demonstrable to you from where you sit that the education has been done in a manner that resonates with the people? Because the questions have been raised about even the language that we use in communicating. I have been, my mom is not too well, so I've been visiting the central and the central region quite frequently. And one of the things that I found out when I visited them, because I drove through town, was that people, either they were ignorant about the disease, or they were simply being heretic, or they were simply being recalcitrant, but people were not heeding to whatever protocols it is that we put out. Now, it goes to the heart of communication, that people are not afraid, sort of, or people may not necessarily even think that there's something that COVID-19 is a reality.
Sure.
So what kind of communication are we doing beyond? And I will get to the practical aspect of it, because I'm not somebody who I don't look at things from a superficial perspective.
Sure.
We're looking at it from a practical perspective on the ground. Has it really well been communicated to the average Ghanaian? The devastating, nature of COVID-19.
Kwame, I think the communication has been put out there as to whether it has sunken in well, especially outside of the formerly locked down areas. One thing, I'll look at it from a dual perspective. I was in Dodowa a couple of days ago, and I think Dodowa never went, under lockdown. Okay, when I went to Dodowa, I went to eat, at a restaurant. And then when I look at the protocols in place, sure, they had a hand washing and all of that. But I had a sense that people in Dodowa were not on edge, for lack of a better description. They were not so alert about the issue as people are, for instance. And I think that the lockdown, created a certain urgency, or it added a certain urgency to the issue at stake. So that those of us that went under lockdown, because we experienced it, and if you try to get out, actually you met the police who sometimes turn you back, etc. So we were compelled to, take it more seriously.
I'm talking about the communication.
Sure, the communication is
I'm talking about language.
Sure.
I'm talking about signs. Not science as clinical science, but
what you see.
Signs.
Sure.
I'm talking about body language.
Sure.
I'm talking about person-to-person communication.
Yeah.
From where you sit. And you see, and I want us to be very, very honest, truthful in our hearts. Right? National Communication for Civic Education was not directly involved in the communication.
Yeah.
The kind of adverts that we created for the purposes of communication were not ones that in my estimation, resonates with the people. I don't know if you're following me.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about the language.
Sure.
I'm talking about the sound.
Like a dual perspective, as I said, in what I see in the Accra area, or like at least in the urban areas, because I went to visit my parents too in Kumasi, and what I see in the urban areas, when I got to my mom's place, when I went to visit in Kumasi, for instance, as soon as I got there, my niece asked me, says, Uncle Sly, please, you got to wash your hands. You see, and that is something that I see a lot. The kids have inculcated it, and therein lies my hope and my satisfaction. You see, because if the kids have picked it up, and for instance, when you go to a lot of my friends, when you visit their houses, their kids tell you, Daddy, you got to wash your hands. Uncle, you got to wash your hands. It's like a game for them, but they've picked it up. They tell that to their parents as well. They tell that to their parents, friends, etc. And therein lies the solution. I was telling you the other time, Kwame, that there was this program under President Mahama, the Greater Accra Metropolitan Area Sanitation Water Project, the Gamma SWP project, and they were pushing so hard for hand washing, especially at the schools, the primary schools, hand washing, especially after toileting, as a way to minimize cholera spread, etc. And now COVID-19 has made hand washing like a norm for the kids, and they've not even gone back to school. When they go back to school, they'll be washing their hands about 10 times a day before they come home. So in that regard, at least in the urban areas, I'm seeing kids leading the fight. And when the kids are leading the fight, you can be sure of victory. However, when I went to Dodoa, like I was saying, I saw a kind of like a daisical approach to it. So maybe what you are saying about the fact that the farmer in the rural area is not adequately informed and does not appreciate the magnitude of the ravaging virus that we are encountering, I might agree with you. And in that regard, I think that maybe the Ministry of Health might want to liaise with the Ministry of Agric to use the extension officers to communicate the severity of the situation to the farmers, because they are in constant communication and contact with them. So this is a multi-pronged intersectoral approach. And I'm still hoping that since like I said, the crisis is a fast-moving train, that the president would catch up. He seems to be on a good trajectory, that he will catch up so that we can close this circle. But I think that he should find a way to use the Agric extension officers, because they are a very powerful voice in the rural areas.
Is it dangerous enough, the virus?
I think it might not be. It is dangerous enough, but it is not scary enough in the sense that it is not in your face. We're not seeing people, like falling down left and right.
Don't you think perhaps that is also one of the foundational mistakes that we've made relative to the fight against COVID-19? The fact that people are not seeing.
I think the optics could have been improved to make people realize how severe the situation is. So people are and there's a lot of misinformation, which speaks to what you are saying, that the education should be intensified, and the NCCE should be,
Now,
involved.
if government comes out with a communication hashtag that says spread calm, not fear, what message is it trying to send?
Well, I think that you see,
spread calm, not fear.
Yeah, I think that the last thing any government would want is there to be fear within the population. That causes the cessation of rational thought. When people are afraid, they don't usually think straight. They act irrationally, and they could be a danger to themselves and their fellow, their neighbors, etc.
But fear in itself is strength. People generate strength out of fear.
Sure.
People are more aware out of fear. People become self-conscious out of fear.
Sure.
So I'm saying that instead of saying that we shouldn't spread fear, but spread calm. Why don't you let the people know exactly what the realities are? To say that the pandemic, let panic prevail. Let people know. If they have to panic, let them panic. So that people, for instance, when we had former President J.J. Wallace in his heydays in power.
I just wrote his name down.
Exactly. When he asked you to sleep, you will sleep because people were. General is bad, but also it instituted some level of discipline.
Yeah.
But because people feel that spread calm, so it's calm, nothing, no fear, nothing. People will just take it with a pinch of salt, and people will make fleeting remarks and just get away with it. I'm coming to you very soon. I've seen you've written a few things down, Muji.
Yeah, Kwame, so what you were saying, about fear instead of calm, it as Machiavellian as that might be, but that might sound, that Machiavelli says fear is better to be feared than to be loved. Okay, as Machiavellian as it might seem, I don't think it's necessarily the most appropriate way. Using President Rawlings' regime as an example, I'm talking about when he was Chairman Rawlings, the PNDC days. You understand? I remember there was a time my dad told me he saw President Rawlings and his he was moving in a convoy, I guess, with some of his military folk, and there was a taxi parked improperly on the street. When they got there, they just flipped the taxi over. They just turned it over and flipped it off of the road onto its side, and then they drove off. So yes, President Rawlings or Chairman Rawlings' regime, there was a lot of fear. But look at us now. If fear could, if fear could guarantee a permanent solution, then Ghana would not be where we are today. For instance, when you look at the fear that was prevailing at the time, people were shot for borrowing 50,000 cedis. It's not like they even borrowed it and they were...
Fear comes with the collateral responsibility. I don't want us to get into all of that.
Sure.
But the fear that I'm referring to must have an accompanying collateral responsibility, which will ensure the sustainability of whatever system you're trying to create. So I don't want us to get into that. But I think your submission is well placed.
Sure.
Let me come to Muji. I've seen you've written a few things down. What do you want to say, sir?
Yeah, Kwame, you are asking questions because you asked Prana whether the measures
we've been
put
successful
in place by
please.
Government so far have yielded results.
Okay.
And I like his answer.
Okay.
But to add that, let me give you an example.
Please, go ahead.
When after the ban on travel into the borders closure,
yes, sir.
Those who were mandatory quarantine, those who were Ghanaians who were traveling into the country, that were mandatory quarantine, taken to the hotels.
Yes, sir.
Come, we told that about 1,000 something the number. We got about 100 and something positive cases. At that time. So imagine if all these people had allowed into the system. Kwame, we have been told that one person affecting 533 people. Then even take it that average, this 110 people. Then you multiply the number of people who would have been infected if there was no mandatory quarantine instituted by government to do testing. And when they tested, this were the results. So you had allowed them to enter. So my emphasis is that the measures were timely and it's proving the results. And that is why we are where we are today. Well, Kwame, let's also talk that you allow social gathering to still be in place. People can go to church. People can go to mosque and pray. People can go to nightclubs. Kwame, I always remember the South Korean story. The video that was circulating, how one person infecting a lot of people with the virus. When he entered South Korea, he went to church, and from church, then now those number of people who were in the church, and as they were singing and wailing, we could see the virus being spread the whole church. People were infected. And one person can affect thousands and millions of people. I hope you get it. So Kwame, there's no two ways. We don't even have to raise the question. It is working, and those are the measures like traditional, everywhere in the world, those are the measures that people have put in place. Kwame, where I agree with you perfectly is the communication. I think so far, sincerely, at the top there, we are doing well. But my problem is, it's like Accra is the whole country. Kwame, when you get to the hinterland, the hamlets, the grassroots, the people don't even know what COVID-19 is. Kwame, I want to know that, like, I'm very happy now government is extending to National MCC, so that, they have the network and they have the staff strength.
So long?
Yeah, the regions and the districts. So I think government has to resource them. And they can even use the local languages. Kwame, we can, one time I listened to the chieftaincy minister and I was happy. I don't know how they are rolling that out. You have to include the stakeholders. Chiefs and opinion leaders, assemblemen have to all come on board. Kwame, it is very important. you let the people know the dangers, and you let them understand it. Kwame, even in Accra here, sometimes you see the media interviewing them. They say, "Oh, Omar to say corona, but corona no there." And yes, say what you say. So they still don't appreciate the danger of COVID-19. But Kwame, I don't know whether legally it is acceptable, like what happened in Italy and Europe. We still have the pictures. Sometimes maybe if we show them on the TV to the public, how people, thousands of people, hundreds of people within hours have been rushed to the hospital, and there are no beds. The staff strength is not enough to accommodate, and people, as a result of that, lost their life. Kwame, I think it will also help, but I don't know how whether that is right. And Kwame, sincerely, I also think that, listen to the experts. And these people are also funny. And these are mothers, they also ask very, very interesting questions. Yeah. When experts come and say, oh, the virus is behaving differently in Africa, what? Kwame say, when you could be an issue that... But that says, oh, it has reached... So Kwame, that is the truth. So all manner of informations out there, it is not also helping, but sometimes that is also the reality, because the way it has devastated Europe and America is not the same as we are experiencing.
Let me take a few
for whatever magic I said that is only God who can answer.
Okay. Let me read a few of the messages, and then we come to the economy. As profoundly and pronouncedly captured on the front page of the Insight newspaper. Herbert K on Facebook says, only President Mahama can develop Ghana, period. Akufo-Addo came to use Ghana to make money, finished. Gabriela Tete, our own Gabriela Tete. Good morning to you, Gabi. Kwame, how does the ordinary Ghanaian in rural Ghana benefit from all these e-learning and the JL channel when they have neither a TV nor a smartphone? I'm yet to hear what plans we have for that group. Data is also very expensive. How does a family on minimum wage participate? Even if we take away the talk tax, data will still be expensive for the ordinary Ghanaian whose kids have to be online from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I think the sites to the e-learning platforms, irrespective of curriculum, whether GES or Cambridge, should be made free, and in rural communities, we engage community leaders and opinion leaders how to develop a learning platform. And I think nothing could be...
That's so brilliant.
Yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. Thank you. And by the way, she is a member of the NDC's communications team.
She should join the CPP now.
Susanna Blow says, Ghanaians, I beg, give us a break. However, Mahama stop Mahama, and let's concentrate on fighting and ending COVID-19, please. Musa Abatwa in Kumasi. Good morning, heavyweight champion. I noticed a certain trend. From the day President Akufo-Addo started addressing the nation concerning COVID-19, anytime the issue of the economy comes in, Finance Minister Kenneth Furate's name is mentioned. Meanwhile, he is not the chairman of economic management team. However, according to the Constitution of Ghana, that role is a responsibility of the vice president. So why is Dr. Bawumia only assigned to attack the credibility of President Mahama, leaving his core duty? Take that away from Dr. Bawumia, he's gradually becoming irrelevant in the NPP. Benjamin Akudam. Good morning to you, Chairman. Soprano, the person is attacking you. Right. Abdul Malik Asma says, my name is Asma. The president's address on some COVID-19 patients responding to treatment. I want to know what medicine is used to treat them. Talib Sultan Sisi. Empower NCC, Information Service Department, and Community Health Nurses to do the work in terms of the communication. Euphemia Ankara. Why is the gentleman wearing a mask but not covering his mouth and nose? Please tell him to remove the mask. Okay. Euphemia seems to agree with me on the fear aspect, the fear factor. She says, why would anyone think that fear is a good deterrent? You only have to look at countries where fear is a tool used to manipulate and control people. Those countries are in dictatorship. But then the question again is, what is your definition of dictatorship? And in many of my conversations with people in, for instance, East Africa and things like that, when the issue about democracy comes up, they said, who defines what democracy is? Democracy is what best works for people, what best works for the people.
Yeah.
So if the people are excited about Yoweri Museveni in Uganda, why not? They will stay with him. They are happy with Uhuru Kenyatta, they will stay with Kenyatta. If they are happy with Paul Kagame, they will stay with Kagame. If they are happy with...
opportunity should be given, when they are not happy, they should have an exit.
Exactly.
And let him exit.
Oh, there's an exit. There's an exit.
Peaceful.
You know what?
Yeah. But some don't have. That is where the
what's his name?
Idi Amin.
Idi Amin said,
yeah.
He said, ask for freedom of speech.
Marshal.
Freedom of speech you can have. But freedom after speech, I cannot guarantee. Oh, goodness. Mohammed Ibrahim Al Hassan and Hassan says, good morning, Pan African TV. We thank God. Has blessed us with a new day, Monday morning. I wish you all the best. Okay, thank you. Tijani Amingo. Good morning, Kwame. I think they have to show us everything on television about the patients and how they are treated. They treated them. TJ Amingo from Austria. I also got a message from France, but I can't find that message on Facebook. So I'll continue looking. Let me do a few more messages, and then because last week I mafiaed my viewers small, so this morning let me just... Right, so this was since the restrictions have been extended until May ending, I guess Muhammad too will extend his running mate until May 31st. We are awaiting his parallel broadcast. Desperation Pioneer. Abu from Nima sent in this one. MPP is a gang of people who have come to enrich themselves, families, and for their generation. Fred from Hohoi sent in this one. Fred is not joking this morning. Hello, KOD, please, why you media people allow the government to lie to Ghanaians saying we are the first African country to test more, while South Africa has tested 324,079, more than Ghana? I agree with you. I have not... Has government said that? They said they are always say they are one of... Yeah, I don't know who... Because I know that they said they are one of the... Good morning, KOD, greetings. Kwame, how do we go about our national census? From home to home counting gives us 80% accuracy. Kwame, home-to-home education in respect of COVID-19 would have given a wider coverage. Not only that, also to ensure that logistics to these homes would also have been fairly carried out. Kwame from Tabora. Kwame, you are extremely right, and I agree with you. But also there's a danger. Amma Pratt, together with her team, went to the Volta region to carry out some interviews. And upon reaching there and entering into the market women were fleeing from them. Owing to the fact simply that they are coming from Accra and that they were coming with the virus to affect them.
And they are right.
So they are right. They are right to think that. They are right to think that. They are right to think that. But it also boils down to education. You know, how do you think that everybody coming from Accra has COVID-19? So that's stereotyping. And I don't know if you have been following the news lately. There's a woman in Bolgatanga who was subjected to some level of ostracism. You know, the people ostracized her from being involved in all activities in the marketplace.
Because of the COVID?
Yes, because she was COVID-19, but she's recovered. The husband has also recovered. And the daughter, ACL daughter, was nearly lynched.
Oh, goodness.
Yes. So the stereotyping is serious, you know, and Ghanaians, we have that problem. You remember when malaria first surfaced? There was that stereotyping too.
Malaria?
Oh, at the time, malaria, stereotyping. HIV/AIDS, stereotyping. Tuberculosis, stereotyping. CSM, stereotyping.
Lack of information.
Lack of information, my people perish. You know, so upon this wearing of face mask and regular washing of hands, so the cases are increasing. The government should act fast and do something. Act fast and do something. Do what is going to help us all. Regards to Alhaji Abi Hussein, this one obviously is from Osman in Tamale. My brother Julius Tongo from Talensi District says, good morning to you, Kwame. In the town I live in, Tongo, where many homes don't have light, many of the children don't even know there is something called e-learning. And, okay. Safiamo, I am not a master of the Queen's language, so therefore I seek few clarification from government spokesperson on COVID. What science and data did government use in declaring Ghana to be at its peak? Just on the day the president announced lifting of the restrictions, every intervention, including giving the less privileged food, stopped. What thinking went into that? Everything the president announced in the lead up to the lockdown were targeted at 3 months. Why are the network providers now charging on transactions below 100 Ghana cedis? as against the president's directive. Giving a second chance, will government still stand by its earlier declaration of peak, considering the drastic increase in just 2 days? Sefiamo, these are burning questions that requires burning emergency answers. Thank you. Good morning to you, Kale. I think President was not being sincere to Ghanaians lifting the lockdown, because we are not different than other countries like Togo, UK, South Africa, and the rest. They are still on lockdown. Why? Ghana, God save us. Abubakar, aka Mr. Orange, watching live from Jamase in the Ashanti region. Mujib is good, but it's telling us true. Okay. Good morning to you, champion KOD. Kwame, tell the MPP man, at least, I know that Germany and South Korea have also seen an increase last week when eased the restrictions. Yeah. Nanado is simply joking with our lives because of his political parochial interest. He's so power drunk that the citizens are never his concern. Absolutely no games and scheming can keep him in power after January 7th. No way. And Kwame, did I hear him talk about press freedom in Ghana yesterday? Press freedom in Ghana? May God forgive him. J. John from Taifa sent in this one. Awuku God knows says, as part of the COVID-19 testing, so far, 90% plus of the people tested negative and allowed to return to the communities. Thus, that exempted them from contracting the virus. Does that exempt them from contracting the virus?
No.
If no, then in case where through the contact tracing, such people are still part, will that be counted as the number of people tested? What is the government doing about that? Because those people who tested negative are not guaranteed of free COVID-19 from, okay, well, sentence is not quite put together well, but I think I get the import of it. Good morning, Kwame, and my good friend Mujib. COVID is a common enemy to Ghanaians, but our appointees from the top to bottom in the Upper West region are only good at looting, hoarding, and amassing wealth to the neglect of the fight. NDC do not need technocrats to sweep all the 11 seats except one. Mohammed Hina from Wa sent in this one. Good morning to you, Pan-African TV. NPP government is doing politics with COVID-19. Keep it up. From Dubik, Emmanuel. Jacob from Akachi North says, I disagree with Mujib. Does it mean that in the previous addresses he does not speak to the facts? Let us be serious in this country. Now, thanks for the program. The borders are closed, but money is collected from people and letting them cross, mostly in the night, which I have seen with my own eyes. Plus 228, I guess it's Togo, right? Plus 228 is Togo. Is it Togo or Gambia or where?
I think it's Gambia.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but do we share?
Tofik Kaswa 94 says, good morning to you. As our COVID cases keep rising, let's be good citizens by adhering to the directives given by the president to wash our hands and the running water with soap, wear face masks anytime we're going out, take a long hand sanitizers anytime we're going out, and stay away from public gatherings. You say my regards to Honorable Mrs. Hawa Kumsin, Mustafa Abdul Hamid, and Honorable Alexander Afenyo Marking. Ayu Farouk in Tamale North says, the president is always being misled. The lifting of the lockdown is the cause of the high numbers we're experiencing so far. Chairman, so did these infected persons have relatives in this country? Because till now, most of us don't know where they are. And Mr. Host, we want the president to give solutions, not promising and credit taking. Nana is dancing to his own tune. This one says, hi KOD, the border have been closed for some time now, yet the cases keep rising. Why? Because no plan has been made available to the public. We are suffering from the border closure. They should open the border and put serious security measures down for all of us. Okay, Agbo from Aflao border town. Thank you, Agbo. This one also says, KOD, good morning to you. In fact, most of us have lost. What is the status of the Fanfare COVID app? We need to follow up on these. This government is spending huge sums of money on things they cannot manage, and we don't demand accountability from them. Please chase them for us. As for the Kontomre and Dawadawa, we are already eating them. Sam from UK sends in this one. Sam, thank you very kindly for your message. Positive change in Medina. Power becomes dangerous and evil when it's in the hands of reckless people. They will destroy everything already built with time. You say regards to Sosu, incoming MP for Medina, and thank you very much, positive change. Augustine from Techiman says we have seen what is happening to most developed countries because the citizens did not take the preventive measures very seriously. If we all if we all Ghanaians behave as if we have all tested positive and stayed at home, wear nose masks and ensure social distancing, we would have overcome this pandemic. In addition, there is no drug medically recommended for the treatment of the virus. So the only way is to use immune boosters. I also suggest that government should lock down and place a curfew on Accra. Hi, Kwame. I love the way the MPP communicator has addressed the issue. I think the CPP communicator has addressed the issue. I think CPP is the only party that can redeem this nation in terms of development and job creation. Aaron inside Agotime Ziope.
Thank you.
District. President said with 500 workers, their samples were taken on the 26th of April. Then why the results just 3 days ago? And with him giving the details, why didn't we get it from the Ghana Health? You can lie to most of us. It's especially exactly the point I was also trying to.
They give the information.
Mr. Kingsley from Nungwa says, we are told Noguchi cleared backlog of as at 5th May. KCCR had a backlog at 19,982 at the same time, and 30 cases stood at 3,091. And as at May 9th, infected cases up by 4,263. Were we told in the president that 900 plus infected cases were from the backlog? My question is, the backlog 900 plus infected cases from KCCR? Okay, I get the import of what you're trying to say, but it's not quite clear. Kwame, Mujib's comparison with the Nanado does not. Mujib's comparison with what Nanado does to that of Trump is misplaced. Trump does press conferences with his COVID-19 team, during which the entire team take part in answering questions. By the way, if Trump is your yardstick, then we are doomed. Even Americans see him more as a clown. This weekly national might broadcast is monotonous, and more of a political circus which must stop. Messages are abundant, but the time is limited. However, I think it's instructive for us to look at the economy and what has been made pronounced on the front page of the Insight newspaper. And I think we can juxtapose same, if we can, with the issue relative to the IMF brouhaha. The fact that the NDC has been engaged in what has been described as a propaganda spree by indicating that the finance minister presented different sets of figures to Parliament and presented different sets of figures to IMF in order that he could secure a facility from the IMF. It appears that the IMF has responded to same, albeit that the country director was quick to add that he didn't want to wage, if you will, or wade in that kind of conversation. But he was left with no choice but to respond to the propaganda that has been put out by the NDC. So we'll look at that as well, and look at the economy suffering. As over 80% of goods sold in leading supermarkets are all imported. So this was a survey that was made in Ghana, leading to, they have shown that only 18% of goods in 23 product categories surveyed are locally produced, while over 80% are imported. The survey conducted between April and May 2019 covered 8 leading supermarkets in Accra, i.e. ShopRite, Accra Mall, Game, Accra Mall, Palace Supermarket, Palace Mall, Kuala, Osu, Maxmart 37, Citidia, La, Melcom North, Kaneshi, and Marina Mall Supermarket. The survey focused on 23 main product categories, chosen based on a preliminary baseline survey that identified product areas in the supermarkets with MIG goods on display. The research by international advisory firm Confidant is the first in a series of Africa-wide survey to monitor local content in big markets across the continent. So, let me start with you. Yes, and maybe we can find a way of, bringing in the conversation about COVID-19 and food security and things like that. Because I think that there has been conversations about whether or not in the event that given the exponential nature of the increment in the numbers that we're experiencing, we may get to a point where food security will be a challenge. And if we don't domestically produce most of the things that we consume, which is actually a fact, because we import sugar, we import rice, we import contumely, we import tomato, we import maize, we import rice, we import everything in this country. All right. The last check, I think the rice that we imported for 378 billion Ghana cedis. So let's look at this, and let's look at the supermarkets that we have, and the fact that they are selling 80% of imported products. How does that leave us? Especially also because there has been that admonition, or if you will, admission, that we are going to be self-sufficient because we're going to be industrializing more.
Sure.
We are moving from the Gadgetsburg economy to a more production economy. Yeah. So let's look at all of these factors and see and find a way of fitting it into the conversation of COVID-19.
Okay. Yeah, Kwame, I'm
few minutes actually.
Sure. By the way, who said we are industrializing? Was it the New Patriotic Party?
Yeah, the NPP said that.
Oh, okay. Because you see, one thing I've always been talking about is, when I hear Mujid and his friends always saying 4 more to do more, I ask myself, to do more of what? You see, because the mandate is 4 years. And that is why we have been talking about a national development plan that we are all about. We all know that story. Because Nana Akufo-Addo has just a few months to go. So when they say 4 more to do more, then I ask myself, didn't Nana realize he just had 4 years at the beginning? So Kwame, we are not surprised that we are importing everything into this country. Indeed, this is something that we captured in my book, Third World to First World by One Touch, that I co-authored with engineer Robert Wood, Ghana's crusading engineer. This phenomena of Ghana importing most of our stuff has been, the bane of our economy, especially since the coup d'etat of 1966, which set all of these things in motion. This, habitual importation of everything. And, it set us on a decline it declined our ability to continue our industrialization project. You understand? So, Kwame, until we are able to come up with a plan that is holistic and cross-party, in the limited time that I have to react to this question, what is going to happen is what is currently happening will continue to be important. The supply chains that are in place are such that we cannot transform them overnight because we do not have the basic policy infrastructure necessary to begin that transformation. We must have a president that is nationalistic enough, that is patriotic enough to be able to lead us into a realm of national development planning, in the sense that we have both or the CPP will be on board, the NDC will be on board, the NPP on board, the leading political parties, so that we can all be on the same track. For instance, why do we have a situation whereby when there's a subsequent government, then everything has to change so drastically? I mean, you look at the case of Commander. If we had been all on the same page by way of a national development plan, we wouldn't have the phenomena whereby as soon as there's a change in party, then everything comes to a standstill and everything is set back so much. So, Kwame, we are not going to be able to change the trajectory. I'm not surprised at all about the fact that everything in our stores, in fact, even the tomatoes, most of the tomatoes we are using is imported. I use a lot of Gino tomatoes because at certain intervals, you cannot get the fresh tomatoes that we are able to produce here. And when I look at its impact vis-a-vis the impact of the order, when you throw Corona, COVID-19 into the mix, okay, then you see that, in fact, if the government had not reacted as promptly as they did, thank God, then the situation would have been much more dire. One good opportunity that we have is apparently, so far, it looks like the virus is not so much prevalent in the rural areas. Maybe that's also because we don't have adequate testing there. But be it as it may, the breadbasket of the Republic is still intact.
Thank you.
At the time, for the time being, for which we thank God.
Thank you.
Under the circumstances.
My brother Mujib, take us away.
Yeah. But Kwame, would the people just reveal what we all know, the research, 80%, long even before COVID. That is what we have been seeing, and we need to restructure our economy. But the research just confirms what is the reality. And Kwame, we are where we are because of certain policy decisions that have taken by different government that has culminated in where we are today. maybe you can talk of a program like Structure Adjustment Program, Diversity Implementation Committee, where state assets, factories, and companies were sold to individuals. And since then, we are where we are today. It's now that under the presidency of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, trying to bring back that spirit. The spirit of what? Industrialization. That is why, hence, the policy implementation of one district, one factory. But that is, but if you are laughing, what happened to Nsewom Kanare? It was doing very well. What happened to all the factories that we have in this country? Proud to all the Fourth Republic. Of course, Kwame. So that is where we are today. But me, the spirit is that, Kwame, I want us to believe in ourselves, that they can do spirit, Kwame. That is what is important, and that is the only way we can transform the economy. Kwame, with COVID, I am very happy that it's bad, but it has forced countries to adjust, and Ghana is no exception. Today, this nose mark, Kwame, is being so locally in Ghana here, and that one is even more stronger because you can wash it, iron it, and reuse it. But what were being imported into the country is disposable, and it's very expensive. Looking at the economy of the individual is difficult. So, Kwame, your introduction on one of the topics, you mentioned other young guys that have invented, have brought in some, and which the president recommended. Well, Kwame, look at in Italy the ventilators, and look at how some doctor, I've forgotten the doctor's name and his team, that the simplest ventilator that they have also came out with, and with government support they can produce mass into the system. And reality is that FDA has now been inundated with some research finding and some work that are waiting for approval. And if the testing and approval is given, Kwame, some of these basic things will be manufactured locally in this country. But you see, the major problem is that they always need government intervention and government assistance. Kwame, that is what is done elsewhere in the country. Long before now, we have seen our rice importation, rice farmers crying that they can't compete with their counterpart in some places like Thailand and Singapore because they have got state subsidized loans and other things that they use. Kwame, that is, so government has to come deliberate that this is the way we have to go. And long before even COVID, Kwame, you know, the policy on rice production in this country was at the forefront of government, which was being championed by the Minister of Agri. And I think that policy is being on. So what we need to do is to continue urging and supporting the farmers to a extent that we can now produce more and feed ourselves, and we can say bye-bye to the imported food. Other than that, if we go to the market now, Kwame, because of COVID, you know, there has been a temporary increases in prices. If you have 80% of foods that are being imported, and Kwame, about 3 months now, or 2 months now, borders have been closed. Goods are not coming. So the person selling will take advantage. Oh, now my round short of goods, so they increase. Yeah. So when I went to buy rice 3 days ago, Gino rice, when they called the price, I was so shocked. But
I'll introduce you to somebody.
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. It's very important. But you don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it. You don't get it.
Local rice, you can't get it.
Don't play politics here. You don't get it.
Obama says the Ghana Medical Association to corroborate government's effort and stop their insubordination by releasing a statement which contains directives which have been outlined by the government already. Let's all adhere to the directives by the government to curb the spread of the virus. Hashtag for more for Nana. Hashtag for more for Darfur. Now, Walano and Akwetia says COVID-19, listen, it's life and death affair that we should all fight individually to bring the rapid rising to a standstill by respecting protocols and put on personal safety precautions. No matter how good the chicken and the hen dances, it will not be nice to the hawk. Government has done extremely well, and there is more room for improvement. That was from Wolano in Ekwetia. My big brother Kotoka Courage in Alonga in the voter register says, good morning, my brother. I still don't understand something. Where is this 4,700 people that are infected with COVID-19? Are they being kept? And how many doctors are with them? I'm a citizen, but not a spectator. Charles Namina Samankese says, so if one person has infected 500 persons, how many persons have the 500 people infected? Very brilliant question.
Yeah.
This is what we should be thinking and asking ourselves as a serious nation, rather than getting deceived by a presidential address on COVID-19, full of political innuendos. Good morning to the next MP for Lower West Akim, Honorable Michael Edusei. And on the basis of all of these wonderful
His
messages,
message is also politics.
let me extend a voice of gratitude to you, Soprano Sylvester Stapon,
Yes, sir. Thank
for
you.
coming on the show today.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to Mujib Rahman.
Yeah.
A big thank you to you as well.
Thank you.
For coming on the show.
Yeah.
You know how difficult it is for you, especially because you're fasting.
Yeah.
But you're always you're always here to serve the nation, Ghana. And to the viewers out there, let's not condemn government too quickly that they were slow to act or they act in an expeditious manner. The question that we should be asking ourselves is government acting in the best interest of its people?
Wow, beautiful.
That is what governments are supposed to do. I'll leave you with these thoughts to ponder on, and you decide. My name is Kwame Owusu Danso. Please stay safe, act safe, think safe, behave in a safe manner. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Do have a very wonderful day. This has been the show. Bye-bye.